the 1980s, Ronald Reagan declared that the government isn't the solution, government is the problem. In the 2020s, Joe Biden is making the exact opposite argument and making a case for government expansion we haven't seen since LBJ or FDR were in the Oval Office.
Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
After watching presidential speeches in Congress since the 1970s, Joe Biden gives his own.
Well, Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President.
A historic night for two California women.
No president's ever said those words, and it's about time.
The pandemic dominating the look and feel of the event, with doctors allowing just 200 people inside, down from the usual 1,600.
100 days ago, America's house was on fire.
Biden says there have been more than 200 million vaccines in his first 100 days, thanks in part to his nearly $2 trillion American Rescue Plan.
I can report to the nation, America is on the move again.
Next up, he wants Congress to pass a $2.3 trillion American Jobs Plan, which focuses on infrastructure, and a $1.8 trillion American Families Plan, which is more about social programs. To pay for it, he wants to raise taxes on businesses and individuals making over $400,000 a year.
It's time for corporate America and the wealthiest 1% of Americans to just begin to pay their fair share. Just their fair share.
Republican Senator Tim Scott with the GOP's rebuttal.
But our nation is starving for more than empty platitudes. We need policies and progress that brings us closer together.
He says the Biden administration should build on President Trump's efforts and work with Republicans.
A president who promised to bring us together should not be pushing agendas that tear us apart.
We debated the speech on the Fox 11 News Special Report with KFI's John Cobalt and progressive attorney Lisa Bloom.
President Biden was magnificent. He cares about real people, from reaching out to transgender teens to talking about getting the COVID vaccine out to anyone over 16.
He's proposing a total of $6 trillion in spending. If you counted the $6 trillion, $1 a second, it would take you 190,000 years to do that. That's how astonishingly large the number is.
State of the Union like no other.
I asked Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff if Democrats would pass all that spending without Republicans if need be.
But the president is exactly right to say, look, we're going to try to get to yes, but doing nothing is just not an option.
I also asked about being a part of the small, masked, socially distanced crowd.
What was that like?
It is very strange. This whole pandemic year has been very strange. It was different, but I'm glad nonetheless that we were able to do it. And it does feel like we are getting back to some sense of normalcy.
Let's hope so. In the coming days, members of the administration will fan out across the country, both in person and virtually, to try to sell this plan. Christine.
And the history of it all with the two women behind him, you have to wonder what Kamala Harris was thinking, because just before this election, she was California's junior senator.
Right, and had spent so many years, of course, with Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco, doing so many different political events there over the decades, and now for the two of them to be up there together was quite something.
California well represented there.
Yes, indeed.